such as fines, service terminations, and licenses revoked should they not obtain adequate and appropriate KYC or CDD information from their clients. The list of identifiable information required when dealing with a natural person are Namibian ID, passport number or date of birth, Namibian residential address, source of income, source of funds, employment and occupational information, etc. When dealing with a legal entity, institutions are required to obtain information related to the registration of the entity, as well as who ultimately owns and controls the entity. Nature and location of business, source of funds, identify and obtain specific information on the natural persons who are trustees of, owns or controls the operation of the legal entity. However, institutions may require more information depending on their internal policies. Obtaining prescribed KYC CDD information is beneficial because it 1. Helps to establish customers' identity and the nature of customers' activities. 2. Helps assess money laundering risks associated with customers for the purpose of monitoring customers' activity and enable reporting of relevant reports as per the FIA. Institutions may in some instances refuse to avail services or freeze an account belonging to clients who refuse to be fully KYC'd. Once a client's identity, source of income, and risk profile have been established by a regulated institution such as a bank, the institution must monitor all the client's activities on the account as per risk profile established to ensure all activities remain within the known profile of the client. This may require the regulated institution to also interview the client to ensure answers availed make business sense. Should the regulated entity not be satisfied with the answers availed, the entity may do a range of things to manage risks, such as restrict activities and services to be rendered to the client. The institution may also consider filing a suspicious transaction or suspicious activity report with the FIA. Let's unite and help keep our money clean.
The Bank of Namibia has a unique role in the Namibian economy. Its mandate, drawn from the Namibian constitution, is to ensure that there is monetary and financial stability in the country. This responsibility entails ensuring the value of money in your pocket is safeguarded. This is referred to as a price or monetary stability. Price stability ensures that there is no abrupt change in the general price level in an economy over a period, such that the Namibia dollar in your pocket today can afford you generally the same basket of goods and services as yesterday.
We do not take this responsibility lightly. Inflation hurts the pockets of Namibians, especially lower segments, unequally. By ensuring stable prices, we stimulate economic activities that improve the opportunities and lives of Namibian citizens.
The bank also ensures a stable supply of good quality banknotes and coins within the country. The bank's responsibility also extends, as the banker of government, to the execution of all government transactions domestically and internationally. At the same time, the bank needs to ensure that it has sufficient foreign exchange reserves in order to maintain the exchange rate peg between the Namibia dollar and the South African rand, which impacts monetary policy decisions. The exchange rate peg refers to the linking of the Namibia dollar to the South African rand so that it fluctuates at the same level. This certainty is fundamental both for consumers and investors in their decisions. Thus, to assist the overall management of foreign currency, the bank is also responsible for the regulation of the inflow and outflow of foreign currency. Namibia's financial system is hailed globally as a modern and resilient sector. The country's banking sector continues to be profitable, liquid, and resilient despite a strained economic environment over the years. It is the bank's responsibility to ensure that banks are well regulated and supervised. Namibia continues to have efficient, safe, and effective payment and settlement systems, thanks to the effort of the National Payment System Overseer, the Bank of Namibia.
We have robust laws and frameworks that helps us to timeously identify, assess, and mitigate threats, as well as vulnerabilities within the financial system. While the last few years have been unprecedented, our focused approach and renewed vision for the next 2 years will help improve the fundamentals so that Namibia's financial system continues to support and serve the Namibian economy.
Furthermore, the bank also supports economic growth in Namibia by providing policy advice to the government while also serving as the issuer of government debt securities. The cooperation between the Ministry of Finance and the bank is vital for economic policy.
Monetary policy under the mandate of the bank and fiscal policy under the Treasury is crucial for macroeconomic management, which is essential for long-term economic growth, investment, and overall improvement in the living standard of fellow Namibians. Therefore, enhanced cooperation between these two institutions on these fronts to ensure the effective executions of this important responsibility is of utmost importance.
The bank is on a renewed path to being a leading central bank committed to Namibia's prosperity through its strategic plan 2022-2024.
Our ambitions are to transform the bank into a streamlined and technologically advanced entity while adjusting to the rapidly changing environment. We are modernizing our financial sector to reflect inclusivity, and we are assisting the country with its recovery effort and sustainable economic development. When we do all these, we can lay a foundation for Namibia's prosperity going forward.
The Financial Intelligence Act provides measures to protect the integrity and stability of the Namibian financial system against financial crimes, profits generated from committing such crimes, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing. To help fight financial crimes, the FIA requires regulated institutions such as banks to establish a customer's identity, source of income, and identify risks that may arise from the business relationship between the customer and the regulated institution. This mandatory process, which must be strictly complied with by regulated institutions, is called Know Your Customer and Customer Due Diligence. KYC and CDD assist the regulated entity, such as a bank, to flag any activity that does not match the client's known profile and to further interrogate the mismatch identified. The main aim of the KYC is to confirm the correct identity and financial profile of customers and clients to ensure they are not engaged in money laundering activities. The KYC-CDD is a legal requirement by the FIA on all FIA-regulated institutions to identify all natural persons and legal persons. To obtain KYC and CDD information, institutions may require different types of requirements for specific types of individuals, depending on their risk exposures. The public will be informed by their specific institutions on what documents or information they require for KYC and CDD verifications. Failure to obtain required information limits transactional monitoring and prevents institutions to detect and report suspicious illegal activities. Therefore, institutions may be subjected to FIA enforcement actions such as fines, service terminations, and licenses revoked should they not obtain adequate and appropriate KYC or CDD information from their clients. The list of identifiable information required when dealing with a natural person are Namibian ID, passport number or date of birth, Namibian residential address, source of income, source of funds, employment and occupational information, etc. When dealing with a legal entity, institutions are required to obtain information related to the registration of the entity, as well as who ultimately owns and controls the entity. Nature and location of business, source of funds, identify and obtain specific information on the natural persons who are trustees of, owns or controls the operation of the legal entity. However, institutions may require more information depending on their internal policies. Obtaining prescribed KYC CDD information is beneficial because it 1. Helps to establish customers' identity and the nature of customers' activities. 2. Helps assess money laundering risks associated with customers for the purpose of monitoring customers' activity and enable reporting of relevant reports as per the FIA. Institutions may in some instances refuse to avail services or freeze an account belonging to clients who refuse to be fully KYC'd. Once a client's identity, source of income, and risk profile have been established by a regulated institution such as a bank, the institution must monitor all the client's activities on the account as per risk profile established to ensure all activities remain within the known profile of the client. This may require the regulated institution to also interview the client to ensure answers availed make business sense. Should the regulated entity not be satisfied with the answers availed, the entity may do a range of things to manage risks, such as restrict activities and services to be rendered to the client. The institution may also consider filing a suspicious transaction or suspicious activity report with the FIA. Let's unite and help keep our money clean.
The Bank of Namibia has a unique role in the Namibian economy. Its mandate, drawn from the Namibian constitution, is to ensure that there is monetary and financial stability in the country. This responsibility entails ensuring the value of money in your pocket is safeguarded. This is referred to as a price or monetary stability. Price stability ensures that there is no abrupt change in the general price level in an economy over a period, such that the Namibia dollar in your pocket today can afford you generally the same basket of goods and services as yesterday.
We do not take this responsibility lightly. Inflation hurts the pockets of Namibians, especially lower segments, unequally. By ensuring stable prices, we stimulate economic activities that improve the opportunities and lives of Namibian citizens.
The bank also ensures a stable supply of good quality banknotes and coins within the country. The bank's responsibility also extends, as the banker of government, to the execution of all government transactions domestically and internationally. At the same time, the bank needs to ensure that it has sufficient foreign exchange reserves in order to maintain the exchange rate peg between the Namibia dollar and the South African rand, which impacts monetary policy decisions. The exchange rate peg refers to the linking of the Namibia dollar to the South African rand so that it fluctuates at the same level. This certainty is fundamental both for consumers and investors in their decisions. Thus, to assist the overall management of foreign currency, the bank is also responsible for the regulation of the inflow and outflow of foreign currency. Namibia's financial system is hailed globally as a modern and resilient sector. The country's banking sector continues to be profitable, liquid, and resilient despite a strained economic environment over the years. It is the bank's responsibility to ensure that banks are well regulated and supervised. Namibia continues to have efficient, safe, and effective payment and settlement systems thanks to the effort of the National Payment System Overseer, the Bank of Namibia.
We have robust laws and frameworks that helps us to timeously identify, assess, and mitigate threats as well as vulnerabilities within the financial system. While the last few years have been unprecedented, our focused approach and renewed vision for the next 2 years will help improve the fundamentals so that Namibia's financial system continues to support and serve the Namibian economy.
Furthermore, the bank also supports economic growth in Namibia by providing policy advice to the government while also serving as the issuer of government debt securities. The cooperation between the Ministry of Finance and the bank is vital for economic policy.
Monetary policy under the mandate of the bank and fiscal policy under the Treasury is crucial for macroeconomic management, which is essential for long-term economic growth, investment, and overall improvement in the living standard of fellow Namibians. Therefore, enhanced cooperation between these two institutions on these fronts to ensure the effective executions of this important responsibility is of utmost importance.
The bank is on a renewed path to being a leading central bank committed to Namibia's prosperity through its strategic plan 2022-2024.
Our ambitions are to transform the bank into a streamlined and technologically advanced entity while adjusting to the rapidly changing environment. We are modernizing our financial sector to reflect inclusivity, and we are assisting the country with its recovery effort and sustainable economic development. When we do all these, we can lay a foundation for Namibia's prosperity going forward.
The Financial Intelligence Act provides measures to protect the integrity and stability of the Namibian financial system against financial crimes, profits generated from committing such crimes, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing. To help fight financial crimes, the FIA requires regulated institutions such as banks to establish a customer's identity, source of income, and identify risks that may arise from the business relationship between the customer and the regulated institution. This mandatory process, which must be strictly complied with by regulated institutions, is called Know Your Customer and Customer Due Diligence. KYC and CDD assist the regulated entity, such as a bank, to flag any activity that does not match the client's known profile and to further interrogate the mismatch identified. The main aim of the KYC is to confirm the correct identity and financial profile of customers and clients to ensure they are not engaged in money laundering activities. The KYC-CDD is a legal requirement by the FIA on all FIA-regulated institutions to identify all natural persons and legal persons. To obtain KYC and CDD information, institutions may require different types of requirements for specific types of individuals, depending on their risk exposures. The public will be informed by their specific institutions on what documents or information they require for KYC and CDD verifications. Failure to obtain required information limits transactional monitoring and prevents institutions to detect and report suspicious illegal activities. Therefore, institutions may be subjected to FIA enforcement actions such as fines, service terminations, and licenses revoked should they not obtain adequate and appropriate KYC or CDD information from their clients. The list of identifiable information required when dealing with a natural person are Namibian ID, passport number or date of birth, Namibian residential address, source of income, source of funds, employment and occupational information, etc. When dealing with a legal entity, institutions are required to obtain information related to the registration of the entity, as well as who ultimately owns and controls the entity. Nature and location of business, source of funds, identify and obtain specific information on the natural persons who are trustees of, owns or controls the operation of the legal entity. However, institutions may require more information depending on their internal policies. Obtaining prescribed KYC-CDD information is beneficial because it 1. Helps to establish customers' identity and the nature of customers' activities. 2. Helps assess money laundering risks associated with customers for the purpose of monitoring customers' activity and enable reporting of relevant reports as per the FIA. Institutions may in some instances refuse to avail services or freeze an account belonging to clients who refuse to be fully KYC'd. Once a client's identity, source of income, and risk profile have been established by a regulated institution such as a bank, the institution must monitor all the client's activities on the account as per risk profile established to ensure all activities remain within the known profile of the client. This may require the regulated institution to also interview the client to ensure answers availed make business sense. Should the regulated
Deputy Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises, or as the late Theo Ben Gurira referred to the portfolio, Finance. Honorable members of Parliament present, Mr. Johannes Kabachab, the Governor of the Bank of Namibia, Mr. Epson Wanguta, the Chairperson of the Editorial Committee and Deputy Governor of the Bank, Ms. Leonie Dunn, Deputy Governor of the Bank, management staff, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, viewers on our online platforms, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Institutions, 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 argue Darian Amaglu and James Robinson in their well-known book, Why Nations Fail, is the reason why some nations prosper while others don't. They argue that wealthier nations are wealthy because of their political and economic institutions, not their locations, not their climate, not their culture. Essentially, good institutions enable investment and a sense of security and confidence in the government and the economic system, and that's why such countries prosper. Since the dawn of independence, an institution that has been part of the collective success of this nation and the capability of the state, and has stood the good test of time, is the central bank, the Bank of Namibia. For the past 33 years, it has been a stabilizing force in the macroeconomic architecture of the country. It has been instrumental in shaping our collective fortunes by promoting and safeguarding monetary and financial stability. It will continue to be an important institution as we revive the fortunes of our economy and deliver on the long-cherished aspiration of prosperity for the Namibian people. We are gathered here, ladies and gentlemen, to account to the Namibian people on the execution of the mandate of the central bank as an essential constitutional institution. We do so openly and transparently, with all successes enumerated and shortcomings noted in the annual report. The same annual report is submitted to the Minister of Finance, who is entrusted with the responsibility of submitting the same to the Parliament of the Republic of Namibia, as per the Bank of Namibia Act, Act number 1 of 2020. Coupled with this accountability measure, the governor of the bank must appear before the Standing Committee on Economics of the National Assembly to account for the functions and operations of the central bank, monetary policy, and the economy. These measures are not done for their own sake, but to ensure that the independent and autonomous central bank, endowed with discretionary powers of monetary and financial stability, is held accountable by the Namibian people. Ultimately, this promotes trust and credibility in this constitutional institution. A hearty warm welcome once again to the launch of the Bank of Namibia Annual Report. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers watching these proceedings on our social media pages and those of the national broadcaster. My name is Kadembire Dembruka, Director of Strategic Communications, and I'll be facilitating the program this morning. Without introduction out of the way, we have only one reason why we have gathered here, is to hear some highlights of this annual report that we'll be launching this morning. And none other to do that is the governor of the bank, who will be presenting highlights of that report, and who will also be delivering some official remarks on this auspicious occasion. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I welcome the governor of the bank, Mr. Johannes Kabachab.
Honorable Maureen Hindambwende, Deputy Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises, Honorable Members of Parliament present, Deputy Governors of the Bank of Namibia, Captains of Industry, esteemed invited guests, management and staff of the Bank of Namibia, viewers on our online platforms, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me this morning to start with a quote on human capacity for renewal by Isabel Allende. We don't know how strong we are until we are forced to bring that hidden strength forward. In times of tragedy, in times of war, of necessity, people do amazing things. All of us at some point in our lives have experienced or are still experiencing adversity. Having lived through the COVID-19 pandemic and other global issues such as international conflicts, the escalating energy and security issue, and the current cost of living crisis, we have lived through one of the most turbulent times since the dawn of our country's independence. Uncertainty about the future has always played a role in society. However, what is essential is that we bring our hidden strength forward when the unexpected happens and find innovative ways to overcome challenges and renew ourselves. In line with the spirit of renewal and revival, the 2022 Bank of Namibia Annual Report being launched today is themed Global Economic Shocks, Rewiring Namibia to Bolster Resilience. As a small, open, resource-intensive economy, Namibia is highly exposed to global risk and to global shocks. These shocks can take many forms, as we now witness of Silicon Valley Bank, Credit Suisse, and others, which increased global financial stability risk and heightened uncertainty. Indeed, financial shocks can reach Namibia through various channels due to the interconnectedness of the global financial system, as we observed during the 2008 global financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. These shocks are becoming larger and larger and becoming more and more frequent. Similarly, real economic shocks that affect productivity and foreign demand can also impact investment and output, and through trade linkages, filter into Namibia's real sector developments. A particular feature of our economy is its close monetary, financial, and real sector links to South Africa, making it sensitive to developments in our southern neighbor. It is therefore necessary for our small and open economy like Namibia to continue rewiring itself to bolster its resilience. How did we fare as a nation in the face of a slew of uncontrollable events during the past year? Did we crack under the strain of the situation? Did we buckle under the weight of it all? I'm here to state unambiguously that we did not succumb or falter. We instead carved and found a better path, a more sustainable path that will lead us to a better destination and long-cherished prosperity in the coming years. To boost the nation's socio-economic resilience to external and domestic shocks, the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises and the Bank of Namibia established the country's sovereign wealth fund, the Welwitschia Fund, in the past year. The fund is intended to promote intergenerational prosperity for all Namibians through the distribution of wealth generated from the country's natural resources, as well as to serve as a vehicle for stabilization when we have got difficult times or when we are facing external shocks. The Welwitschia Fund was launched with an initial balance of around 270 million Namibian dollars in May 2022. Since the fund is denominated in the US dollar, it has profited from a stronger US dollar since its inception, along with strong investment returns generated from the capital employed. I'm pleased to report that the government has committed to finalizing the Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill and present it to Parliament when ready. It will set out the governance structures and funding rules enabling the fund to grow sustainably, to promote good governance, to promote accountability, transparency, prudence, and carry out its mandate effectively. To continue assisting households and businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant economic hardships, the Bank of Namibia retained the COVID-19 relief measures. These policy measures included loan repayment moratoriums, liquidity relief measures, and the relaxation of the capital conservation buffer, and concentration risk of the single borrower limit. This has allowed commercial banks to extend credit to economic sectors most affected by the pandemic after its aftermath. During 2020, the banking industry received a total of almost 123,000 applications for repayment holidays. The value of loan approvals indicated that individuals dominated the approvals with a total of 2.3 billion Namibian dollars in 2022 compared to 4.9 billion in 2021. This was followed by the real estate and business services sector with 1.2 billion Namibian dollars, trade and accommodation of 731 million Namibian dollars, and the mining sector with about 285 million Namibian dollars. Since SMEs are vital to any nation's economic advancement and employment creation, the Bank of Namibia and the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises relaunched the SME Economic Recovery Scheme. The revised and eased qualifying criteria will enable more SMEs to access the 500 million guarantee facility. Through the scheme, we want to strengthen the sector to catalyze growth and enable SMEs to revive their operations and scale their businesses. In doing so, more SMEs will be able to stay afloat, jobs will be preserved, and economic activity will be stimulated. Interested registered SMEs can access this facility via participating commercial banks and the Development Bank of Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of the annual report prepared in accordance with Section 67 of the Bank of Namibia Act presents an opportunity to account for the state of the economy and the execution of the monetary and financial stability mandate of the bank. And now I would like you to focus on the presentation. I hope to focus on four things. Firstly, on the macroeconomic review for 2022, then talk a little bit about what's happening in the banking space, then the financial performance of the bank, and then I hope to conclude. So if we need to start So this annual report that we are launching today is covering the period 1st of January till the end of December 2022. It communicates the bank's operations and activities to all the stakeholders. Additionally, we will be zooming in on the governance and stakeholder highlights for the year, strategic focus areas of the bank, provide you with a very brief high-level macroeconomic review in the annual report, developments in the banking supervision, an overview of the bank's financials. This report also contains the theme chapter as well as 2 box articles on global economic shocks, repositioning Namibia to cope with adverse effects. That's a theme chapter, and the box articles is 1, policy issues emanating from the Bank of Namibia's 23rd Annual Symposium. Many people don't know that actually we ran a symposium last year. We've discovered oil, we are talking about green hydrogen. What is that we need to get right as a country? You know, so that oil or green hydrogen do not become a curse for this country, but help the country to prosper. And we got international experts to come and talk to us, and we had a very successful symposium, and the results and the outcomes are actually in that box. So for those of you who have got time, those of you who are following us, this annual report will be available on the website of the bank. You can really go into and read those articles. If you don't find the annual report, it's available in a very soft copy on the website. The second box article is expanding Namibia's monetary and financial statistics with the addition of the M3 monetary aggregate. So it's very interesting articles you can also read in the annual report. Right, let's look at the macroeconomic review in 2022. I was hoping that I'll get my notes, so now I need to fly solo without the people who promised me I'll have my notes. So I don't have my notes. So what I can do is, in terms of the macroeconomic, where is Nafiko? Right. So if you look at the global picture, global GDP growth slowed from 6.2% in 2021 to 3.4% in 2022, partly because of the conflict in Russia and Ukraine that resulted in supply disruptions. And you could also see from 2021 to 2022 what happened to inflation globally. It's red all over, as you can see. You know, and because of the high inflation that you see in 2022, you could see the policy response in 2022. Most of the countries increased the policy rates. Inflation raised significantly in 22, and this has triggered the majority of central banks to embark on an accelerated path of monetary policy tightening to tame rising inflation. Looking ahead, global growth seemed to decelerate somewhat further to 2.9% in 2023, reflecting continued spillovers from the Russia-Ukraine war and tighter monetary policy. On that slide, the only thing you can actually see, the only green bar is on China in terms of 2023. On the positive side, China's recent removal of COVID-19 related lockdowns and reopening of the economy have paved the way for a faster than previously expected performance globally. What are the downside risks if you look at 2023? Downside risks confronting global growth are further prolonging the war in Ukraine, resulting in rising prices that could intensify food insecurity, social unrest, and geopolitical fragmentation, which may impede global trade and economic cooperation. Tight labor markets in major advanced economies will likely keep inflation intractable, resulting in continued tight monetary policy stances and financial conditions. And then high interest rates are expected to affect the financial system adversely. We are also closely monitoring the spillover effects of the banking crisis that started in the USA because of their exposure to treasury and mortgage bonds that lost market value following a steep increase in interest rates. This developing situation could negatively affect the banking system in the US and other parts of the world. If we come back home and look at the domestic economy, it built up further growth and momentum during 2022. So notwithstanding the challenging global environment, the domestic economy built up further growth and momentum on the back of improved economic activity across all three main industry groupings. Growth in the Namibian economy accelerated, and that's the latest figure we received this morning. It accelerated to 4.6% in 2022 from 3.5% in 2021. During 2022, primary industry was buoyant, chiefly supported by a significant increase in the production of diamonds due to additional production brought about by the new diamond recovery vessel. If you look at domestic economy outlook and the key risks, we expect a slowdown in 2023 to around 3% from the 4.6% that we see in 2022, and also to around 2.9% in 2024, largely to a weaker global demand. And there are some risks to that forecast that we have got. The first one is monetary policy tightening globally. We continue to experience water supply constraints along the coast. We've got high cost of key import items and the effects of climate change. Some people are saying, given the rain that we've received so far, we could probably have some drought in the country. And another risk that we could have, that we hear, is the potential spillover of electricity cuts in South Africa to Namibia. We can see that already in the livestock that's being marketed to South Africa and the prices that weaners and cattle are currently fetching. We can also see in the latest inflation numbers that came out in January, our inflation was around 7% and it came to 7.2% at the end of February. So electricity plays a big role, and you can see that real producers are passing this on to the consumers in South Africa. And because of load shedding, you can start seeing the effect of that coming through in our economy. The bank's Monetary Policy Committee tightened its monetary policy stepwise throughout 2022, mainly aimed at anchoring inflation expectations and safeguarding the one-to-one link to the South African rand, while providing support to the domestic economy to the extent possible. So the Bank of Namibia has increased rates by about 300 basis points in 2022. If we look at the growth in private sector credit extension, that rose to an average annual rate of about 3.6% in 2022 from an annual average rate of 2.4% recorded in 2021. The moderate improvement in year-on-year growth in private sector credit extension during 2022 was due to the increased demand for credit by businesses, particularly corporates in the mining, transport, and the services sector. The relief measures that were introduced at the height of the pandemic in 2020 were extended in 2022 to continue providing relief to economic sectors that were still in distress. Central government budget deficit as percentage of gross domestic product for 2022-2023 fiscal year was revised downwards by 0.1 percentage point to 5.2% of gross domestic product from the 5.3% initially estimated in the October 2022 mid-year budget, owing to an increase in revenue. The debt stock level of central government rose over the year to the end of December 2022, driven mainly by a rise in domestic debt. And you'll see that in 2022, if you look at central government debt, as a percentage of gross domestic product, when the minister was talking, it was around 70%. It's down to about 65.9, or I would call it more 66%. Because gross domestic product has been revised upwards now by NSA. So that's why you see that number not at 70%, but at 65.9%. If you look at the current account balance deficit relative to gross domestic product, that is whitened. Now it's quite clear that you could see that both in 2021 and 2022 that it is whitened compared to a deficit of 9.9% or 18.3 billion recorded in 2021. This was ascribed mainly to a deterioration of the merchandise trade deficit due to an increase in imports. But our capital account actually is, you could see, apologies. You could see what happened to the capital account is that we've got some inflows, FDI inflows, you could clearly pick up. In 2021, we had about 10, and in 2022, projected about 15.3. So the stock of international reserves rose on an annual basis by about 8.4% to settle at 47.6 billion at the end of December 2022, partly due to capital inflows from foreign asset swaps arrangements and African Development Bank loan and revaluation gains. If we look at our financial system in the country, we can see that the Namibian financial system remains stable and sound, and resilient enough to withstand elevated risk and vulnerabilities emanating from the global and domestic economic and financial environment. The banking sector remained profitable, liquid, and well capitalized. The non-banking financial institutions sector remained profitable and sufficiently capitalized, and the national payment system remained stable, effective, and efficient in 2021. So if we go back and look at the banking sector, it's strongly capitalized with a total eligible capital ratio of 17%, an expansion from the 15.9% reported in 2021. Both the total eligible capital ratio and the common equity tier 1 capital ratio are above the minimum regulatory requirements for DSIPs of 10% and 7% respectively. The banking sector balance sheet reported growth in total in 2020, while asset quality improved as the non-performing loans ratio fell. In line with economic recovery that boosted household and corporate income, non-performing loans declined, and the non-performing loans ratio to total loans declined to 5.6% at the end of 2022, lower than the 6.4% recorded a year early. This was a welcome improvement as the NPL ratio stood below the crisis trigger benchmark ratio of 6%, indicating that the quality of assets was satisfactory during 2022. Despite the improvement in this ratio during the latter part of 2022, the impact of inflationary pressures, interest rate adjustments, and slow economic recovery is still filtering through and is expected to negatively affect the ratio. That's the key parts that I wanted you to see on the presentation. Let me get back to my notes. Let me return to the operations of the bank. Since launching the bank's 3-year strategic plan, that 2022 to 2024, the bank has been on a journey to digitally transform the institution and drive the full modernization of our financial system. This will not only help restore economic growth and sustain economic development, but it will transform the lives of thousands of Namibians. During 2022, the bank invested in systems and platforms to support digitization for increased operational efficiency. Some business units have already started reaping the benefits of enhanced efficiency due to digitalization and automation of business processes. Furthermore, the bank started exploring the opportunities central bank digital currencies present in achieving financial inclusion objectives. Consultations with relevant stakeholders in this regard have begun and will gain further traction during this year. The bank is doing groundbreaking work in advancing financial inclusion through an instant payment solution, enabling efficient, cost-effective, and instant real payments, which, if implemented, will be a game changer in the payments ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bank of Namibia puts purpose above profits. The price and financial stability mandate of the bank is paramount. We cannot keep interest rates low in the face of high inflation to preserve low funding for the public sector or increase rates to generate profits. Such actions would be inappropriate. It will violate the mandate of the bank and destabilize the economy. That said, I'm glad to announce that the Bank of Namibia will pay the government of the Republic of Namibia a dividend of 413,700,000 Namibian dollars, 413.7 million Namibian dollars. The bank's operating profit increased by 11.5% from 584.2 million in 2021 to 651.2 million in 2022. Therefore, the reserves available for distribution increased year on year from 672 million in 2021 to 772 million in 2022. This makes it possible for the bank to declare a dividend that will be put to good use in much needed areas as we rewire the country and bolster resilience. Looking to the future, Namibia must continue to safeguard its financial integrity that is hailed as one of the best on the African continent by safeguarding its institutions. For this reason, Namibia cannot afford to fail the test regarding the mutual evaluation exercise, which assesses the effectiveness of our anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism and proliferation framework. As you recall, last year the country underwent the second peer review and mutual evaluation exercise as part of the Financial Action Task Force framework. Efforts are being made to meet deadlines to keep the country from being grey-listed after the current 12-month monitoring period expires. And this is where our strong institutions must play a decisive role in delivering on their mandate to contribute to stability, mitigate and avoid risk in order to preserve the integrity of our financial system. Thus far, Namibia has shown significant political commitment to meeting the FATF requirements. The Cabinet of the Republic of Namibia has directed institutions and stakeholders to implement an action plan adopted in December 2022. Proposed legislative changes have been made and public consultations on the gaps in relevant laws have been finalized. Law enforcement agencies are working non-stop to reduce the risk of the targeted review. On all these fronts, we must demonstrate serious commitment and action before submitting the post-evaluation progress review report in the middle of this year. Indeed, with this national exercise, the strength of our institutions is being tested, and we all need to work together if we want to come out of these uncharted waters with the sound reputation of our financial system intact. A boat cannot go forward if each rower rows in his or her own direction. At this juncture, I would like to wholeheartedly thank the board of the Bank of Namibia, the staff, and our valued stakeholders for their role in the bank's ability to deliver on its mandate despite a challenging climate. I would also like to acknowledge and single out the editorial committee under the leadership of Deputy Governor Nguta, who had sleepless nights ensuring this annual report is produced on time, a task that we have never failed to deliver on since the establishment of the Central Bank of Namibia. I would like to leave you with wisdom from an African proverb. The world is not ours. The earth is not ours. Its treasures we hold in trust for future generations. While I hope that we will be worthy of that trust, at the same time, I ask my fellow countrymen to commit to making a positive contribution towards building this great nation. We have taken measured steps in 2022 to rewire and bolster Namibia's resilience, and will continue doing so with all our energy. We have supported our enterprises to recover fully from the pandemic because they are the engines of our growth. We have assisted households weather the storm by ensuring relief measures are extended. We have advanced the intergenerational agenda by bequeathing a better future with the Welwitschia Fund. We have reached the point that we can leverage our national endowments to improve the quality of life of our people. The Bank of Namibia stands ready and is committed to delivering monetary, price, and financial stability, and is committed to providing practical advice on implementing structural reforms, improving fiscal sustainability, and accelerating Namibia's recovery to sustainable growth in this year of revival. I'm confident that collectively we can make Namibia one of the greatest nations on the African continent and beyond. This is the legacy that we must leave for the future generations. Thank you for listening. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. Before we officially invite you back to launch the report, as we said, the theme of our report is rewiring Namibia to bolster resilience. For the period under review, we continue to assist Namibians in various ways where we could as an institution. This is born out of a realization that government alone cannot attend to all of the needs. And in this upcoming video, we have prepared a highlight package of how the central bank has helped Namibians across the breadth and the length of our beautiful country as we recovered from a once-in-a-lifetime event, as we build that necessary resilience to face future events head-on. Let's watch this video.
Over the past 2 years, the Bank of Namibia has been diligently and intentionally investing into Namibian citizens by implementing corporate social investment responsibility initiatives across the country, even during the most tumultuous period. Guided by its very own corporate social investment and responsibility policy, the Bank of Namibia strives to be a responsible corporate citizen by recognizing that its social, economical, environmental, and related responsibility towards stakeholders is integral to the bank's corporate image.
As a central bank, we are entrusted with the mandate of supporting economic growth and development, acting as a fiscal advisor to government, as well as banker to government. We also promote price stability, making sure inflation doesn't drive prices up. We manage the country's reserve. We issue currency and ensure a sound and stable financial system. We also conduct economic research. These responsibilities are in alignment with our vision of being a leading central bank committed to a prosperous Namibia. We want to do it all for you. We understand that the Namibian nation at large is impacted by the continuous economic activities one way or the other. Therefore, our mandate inherently supports the attainment of prosperity for all Namibians. Moreover, as an institution, we are committed to being a responsible corporate citizen, and we acknowledge our social obligations that is tied towards the broader sustainable social and economic development. Our social responsibility program helps us to achieve this more directly.
The COVID-19 sponsorship initiative was the Bank of Namibia's response to a nationwide call by His Excellency President Dr. Hage G. Geingob for the private and public sectors to support government's efforts to fight the global pandemic. By first contributing towards the fight against the coronavirus, and second, assisting to secure a sustainable future for our country through relief measures as a partner in Namibia's economic recovery. Launched on May 12, 2022, the Welwitschia Sovereign Wealth Fund is a sovereign wealth fund managed by the Bank of Namibia and aimed at meeting the aspirations of Vision 2030 and acting as an agent of national change. The fund seeks to strengthen Namibia's fiscal stability and resilience as a powerful and significant source of ensuring that our country's resources benefit future generations by paving the way for long-term, inclusive, and sustainable development.
My name is Veithiwa Karuombe, and then obtained an honors degree in economics at the University of Namibia, of course with the help of the central bank.
The Bank of Namibia's bursary scheme is an annual bursary program that awards deserving learners who have demonstrated commitment and proved academic excellence during their grade 12 national examination.
My name is Helena Ngipunya. I'm 24 years old. My school journey started in the north, in a village in Oshana region. I then moved to Windhoek. After that, I went to the University of Namibia and continued to obtain my bachelor's degree in economics.
I'm from Ndola in Ohangwena region. I obtained my honors degree from the University of Namibia.
Executed by the Namibian Training Authority, the Technical and Vocational Educational Training is a project that equips Namibian men and women with practical skills such as mechanical, farming, and welding skills, among others. With this training, they are able to secure employment, to gain experience, and even start their own businesses.
When they put this program, I was so happy. We have to teach them so they can take over in the future.
What I like about being an apprentice is you get experience in your industry that you are working in.
Every day I'm gaining new skills.
Apprenticeship, it waits for us.
We were luckily part of the pilot group of NTA on this apprenticeship program. It's now the two programs that we are running, the mechanical ones as well as for kids.
I learn new things that I never even get them in contact with. I learned how to assemble and disassemble engines and gearboxes.
It's a great opportunity. You learn so much and you get job experience, you have your studies paid for, and you get an incentive. It's amazing.
Let them come, let them have the experience, let them also learn. They should come in numbers, apply, they should grab the opportunity once they have it.
As the bank continues to uphold its corporate social responsibilities, in this regard we've got corporate laboratory programs regionally, because this can have a remarkable impact on the organization and the people it serves, both directly and indirectly. I highly urge private sector to prioritize corporate social responsibility to sustainably improve the livelihoods of all Namibians. Let us work together and industrialize the Namibian economy through incorporation of effective and corporate social responsibility.
As a state institution, the Bank of Namibia exists to serve the citizens of Namibia. Hence, the commitment to implement relevant CSIR activities as it acknowledges its consistency with the value of being a corporate citizen and its duty in igniting economic prosperity.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. As you could see from that highlight package, some of our interventions of the past year. Not only is the central bank contributing to the bigger picture with the dividend that has been declared, but on its own, as a corporate citizen, it continues to support some of those programs that you have seen in that highlight package. So the moment has arrived. Let me call the Governor and the Deputy Minister of Finance to just stand where they are. My colleague will hand over the check, and then symbolically, the Governor of the bank will hand over the dividend check. And for my fellow media practitioners in the room, this is the time that you take out your camera. You can also take out your mobile phone, your Huawei, your Nokia, whatever device that you may have, so that you catch this historical moment. Thank you so much. And I am reliably informed that we handed over a similar check last year. However, we had to reprint just because Mr. Lloyd was telling us that the decimals and those last figures and the numbers are not correct, and therefore we had to print a whole new printout so that you hand over a 413 million, right? 13. All right, there we are. Also, in the same vein, if we can officially hand over the annual report of the bank to the Treasury.
All the operations of the bank provides a macroeconomic overview of what happened in 2022, the state of the financial system, gives you information on the banks in the country, and above all, it's a clean, unqualified, clean audit, as always in the past. So please accept our annual report.
Thank you so much, Governor. Thank you so much, Minister. We are doing things a bit differently this year, and in keeping with our digital transformation drive, we have printed fewer copies of the annual report. The report is already uploaded on our website, so you can download it at your own convenience. And for the first time, we are also making an interactive version available on Friday on our website as well. Please digest the information we have made available to you, and if you have questions or any feedback that you may seek, please let us know. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to invite our guest of honor, the Honorable Maureen Hinda-Mbwende, to deliver remarks on this occasion on behalf of the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises. Honorable Minister, the floor is yours.
Directors of Ceremonies, Master Johannes Kavachap, Governor of the Bank of Namibia, Master Epson Okuta, Deputy Governor, Ms. Leonie Dan, the Deputy Governor, management and staff of the Bank of Namibia, distinguished guests, members of the media, viewers joining us on online platforms, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, or is it afternoon? I am once again honored by the opportunity granted to me to address the Super Eagles this morning. I'm indeed pleased to be here to celebrate the significant achievement of the bank in the execution of its mandate of promoting price and financial stability and advancing the economic development agenda in the country. The launch of this 2022 annual report attests to the Bank of Namibia's reputation of being a transparent, reliable, and accountable institution. It is therefore not surprising that since the establishment of the Bank of Namibia, it has never failed to produce its annual report on time without fail, as set out in the Bank of Namibia Act No. 1, 2020, Chapter 11 of Section 64. But Governor, please tell us, how do you do it? Actually, share the methodology. I mean, it's not even 3 months yet. Do you start the auditing beforehand, before 31st December? The Bank of Namibia is an example of an institution with integrity and loyalty to the country's developmental role, an institution on a new and exciting strategic path of progressiveness, inclusivity, and digitalization, We need more institutions like yours that are dedicated to serve the best interests of our people. We need more of you with a burning passion to make a difference, to make the lives of the poor and the marginalized people better, and to build the economy. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank the Bank of Namibia for diligently honoring their commitment in ensuring that the Ministry of Finance receives dividends payments every year on behalf of the government of the Republic of Namibia. The amount was 413.7 million. These payments are crucial and are utilized in meeting critical obligations and addressing meaningful areas of development and needs in our country. You may recall that a year ago, at the launch of the 2021 Bank of Namibia annual report, we were talking about post-COVID economic recovery, and we are talking about green shoots. The green shoots have materialized, and we are seeing the recovery on all fronts, but we still live in a very uncertain world, and therefore, these dividend payments are of utmost importance to continue supplementing the limited resources at government's disposal. We are living in a rapidly changing digitalized world, and likewise, the financial services landscape continues to evolve. The technological wave in the financial sector is not new, but COVID-19 has no doubt fast-tracked the rolling out of digital offerings by our financial institutions. Gone are the days that we had to head to the branch or ATM to deposit and withdraw money. With technology, everything is now within the touch of a button. And consumers have greater access to services ranging from payments, insurances, and financial advisory services. A solid enabling regulatory environment is critical for promoting innovative financial services that reaches large segments of the population, even in the most remote areas of Namibia. New technologies, especially those driving digital finance, provide immense opportunities for connecting businesses across the world. But digital finance must go hand in hand with advancing financial education and preventing cyber fraud. The theme of the annual report is global economic shocks, rewiring Namibia to bolster resilience. I could not think of a more befitting theme for us as a nation. As business resumes post-COVID, several structural drivers are gaining momentum and will serve as key engines of growth in years to come. Economic growth is essential, but what is crucial in Namibia is inclusive economic growth. Growth which creates jobs, growth which reduces poverty, and growth opportunities, particularly for young people in Namibia, as there is still a lot of work to be done in this area. Financial inclusion is distinctly moving up the reform agenda, both at the international level and in individual countries. The post-2015 development agenda squarely puts financial inclusion as a key objective for United Nations member countries. We will not achieve sustainable development goals if we do not pay specific attention to develop financing needs. Greater financial inclusion has tangible economic benefits, such as higher GDP growth and lower income inequality. Greater success to financial services makes a difference in investment, food security, health outcomes, and other aspects of our daily lives. By providing access to accounts, credit, infrastructure, women and low-income users, financial inclusion helps make growth more inclusive. When financial systems become more inclusive, they help broaden financial markets and make monetary policies more effective. By bringing more sections of the population into the formal sector, the effects of fiscal policy, both tax and expenditure, are broadened. In this regard, I'm pleased to note that the Bank of Namibia is making great strides in advancing the financial inclusion agenda through the creation of an enabling environment in payment ecosystems that has contributed to higher rates of financial inclusion in the country. This is evident by exponential growth in electronic money, also known as e-money. E-wallet services as part of the payment service offers for both banks and non-banks, and the basic bank account by Bank of Namibia. According to the Namibian Financial Inclusion Survey of 2017, the proportion of financially excluded population was 22% in 2017. It thus decreased from 31% in 2011, as much as 51% in 2007, a figure that has more than halved over 20 years, but still has room for improvement. As far as e-money, there are currently over 2.5 million active wallets, we are told, with 64 million transactions worth, 34 billion during 2022. Another innovation has been the introduction of the basic bank account by Bank of Namibia. Commercial banks must offer these low-cost products to the public and other digital financial services. Even though great strides has been made in this regard, I'm also aware that access to affordable and essential services has remained limited in rural and in informal sectors. To this end, I'm aware of various interventions that the bank continues to explore towards broader financial inclusion and access to affordable and essential financial services through its 3-year strategic plan aimed at modernizing the financial systems. Ladies and gentlemen, a new era has dawned for Namibia, and all eyes are on us as a nation. And as the world is recognizing the potential of this country of ours, we are at the forefront of exciting new prospects of discovery of oil and the green revolution through our green hydrogen project. These are new game changers with immense potential for our economies. And we as Namibians need to position and make voices heard, and our voices heard in the global arena. It is indeed gratifying to see contribution in advancing this agenda through its research capabilities and collaboration. The key stakeholders in this sector and through the bank's new journey of digitalization. More than ever, we are also seeing stronger synergies between sustainability and finance. When brought together, these two forces can power us ahead in our growth and sustainability journey. Thank you for making a significant contribution of driving the growth agenda in Namibia. As for the Ministry of Finance, we can assure you that we will work tirelessly in conjunction with the Bank of Namibia as our key stakeholder towards economic growth and a better inclusive Namibia. Honorable Governor, let me echo in what you said. The world is not ours. We're holding it for the future generations. Every generation has a responsibility towards the future generation. Let's continue to play our part. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister. Another round of applause, please. Well, as we come to the close of our proceedings this morning, allow me to invite the Deputy Governor of the Bank, Ms. Leonie Dunn, to deliver closing remarks. Deputy Governor, the floor is yours.
Honorable Mumbwende, Governor Gabagab, Mr. Wanguta, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to stand on the protocols already established here today. Good afternoon. I am most humbled to propose a vote of thanks on this joyous occasion. Indeed, today, we are not only proud of having produced this critical accountability report to the Namibian nation, but we are most happy that we were able to go above and beyond the discharge of our mandate to take the bank to greater heights despite a very difficult, volatile, and uncertain economic, social, and global political climate. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Governor alluded earlier, the bank is midway through implementing our 3-year strategic plan. This plan, amongst others, is meant to digitally transform the bank and ensure a full-fledged, modernized financial system for the prosperity of all Namibians. This financial system, we most humbly opine, will positively transform the lives of all Namibians, even those living in the most remote parts of our country. Indeed, the objective is to ensure we are all included in our financial system and that our universal inclusion assists with further stimulation of domestic economic activity. For the bank, financial inclusion is both deliberate and intentional. It is about continuously identifying and removing barriers that hamper participation by Namibians in our financial system. It is about ensuring that we can and that we indeed participate in our own financial system. It is about ensuring anytime, anywhere financial services for all Namibians. As a team member of the bank, being part of this most transformational journey is not only an absolute privilege, but it is most phenomenal as we are putting to action our visionary words of ensuring a prosperous Namibia for the prosperity of all Namibians. To serve you, our beloved Namibia, is what guides our purpose as the Bank of Namibia. We are indeed in a crucial year in terms of executing our strategic plan, because in 2024, we need to account back to you, our fellow Namibians, the aspirations we have set for ourselves over the period 2022 to 2024. To succeed at this midpoint requires diligence, utmost commitment, immense courage, extreme boldness, and a deliberate mindset of growth. We continuously seek opportunities to learn, to gain new skills, and enhance existing skills to ensure success. Every failure, as rare as they may be in the bank, is used as an opportunity to grow and to learn forward. We believe in smart work, in hard work. We believe in leaving nothing to chance, and at all times are prepared to react positively to the most adverse of situation and circumstances. We strongly believe that the total sum of our aspirations, beliefs, and actions is what makes our growth mindset work. And it is this sum of total that will take us as winners across the finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to single out our Commander-in-Chief, Mr. Governor, Mr. Johannes Kabakap, for being the catalyst that stimulates us to be our absolute best at all times. A true pillar of strength, a leader who understands what it takes to be mission critical, a leader who boldly and courageously aligns all to ensure what has been identified as mission critical is at all times fully achieved. With a deep sense of appreciation, we thank you, Governor, for inspiring us to continue to reinvent, rewire, and bolster not only this institution, but to understand and act with a greater picture in mind at all times. Your Everest leadership style truly serves the greater good of Namibia and her people. It remains widely admired and immensely respected. It is your unique and transformational leadership that continuously ensure that the bank remains a beacon of hope and an advocate for the voiceless and most vulnerable in society. We salute you, Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, successfully executing our mandate requires close and regular consultations between the bank and our line ministry, the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises. Our relationship with the ministry is a relationship we immensely value. Thus, on behalf of the board and the entire Bank of Namibia, we extend a special vote of thanks to Honorable Mwende, who always support our cause and who spared time from a very busy schedule to grace the occasion, not only to receive the dividend, but also for availing us with kind words and acknowledgement, showing appreciation for what we are doing. We salute you, Honorable Mwende. Our sincere gratitude also goes to all our esteemed stakeholders who have supported us throughout the year and contributed to taking the institution to greater heights. Stakeholder engagements are of critical importance to the bank, and one of our pillars of our strategy is dedicated to this purpose. Indeed, we continue to be on a listening journey because we do not know it all. But we at all times are committed to learn it all. We want to hear from you, our esteemed stakeholders, so that we can transform our central bank, our economy, modernize our financial sector, and deliver development economically for the greater public good of Namibia. This year, we invite you to join us and make inputs where necessary in areas such as central bank digital currencies, for instance, and any other innovative idea that will take the bank forward and that will disrupt the way we are and how we do things. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we also express our gratitude to the Annual Report Editorial Committee. You demonstrated that you are true champions of our high-performance culture. You made sure that the bank delivered on our statutory mandate timely to produce this annual report without fail. This is most remarkable. Launching a major publication such as an annual report does not happen overnight. In fact, the wheels start rolling months before. It requires intense planning, a bird's eye for detail. But we have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very proactive and dedicated staff and a most remarkable Deputy Governor Wanguta. With the team, they ensured that this very hard year, with many sleepless nights that went into the report, that a most beautiful report indeed was timely produced. We thank you, Deputy Governor Wanguta. We thank you, Sanet. And we thank you, each and every team member of the annual report, as well as each and every team member of the Bank of Namibia who gave input to the annual report. We also thank all teams who work behind the scenes to make today's event possible. We remain thankful for your continuous commitment, Teams Strategic Communications and Financial Sector Development, Teams Finance and Administration, and Banking Services. Without you, this event would not be possible. To the members of the media present here today, we trust you will take the Bank of Namibia story far and wide without fail, in a way and a manner for all to understand. The public's knowledge and trust in the bank is what it is today because of you and the work you do. We thank you for your continuous report and look forward to the engagements that we will have with aunts, uncles, community members, community leaders, all wide and sundry from the Namibian nation, discussing on the Bank of Namibia's delivery contained in this annual report. We also take this opportunity to thank all of you who were with us today and who stayed present until the conclusion of our event. It is always a great pleasure to host you, and we look forward engaging you going forward. We thank you very much and wish you a most blessed afternoon. Thank you.
Another round of applause, please. Deputy Minister, you asked, how does the Bank of Namibia do it? And I think Deputy Governor Dan just summarized a little bit of what happens behind the scenes in terms of the work that happens in the editorial committee. But I'm sure after this, Sanet, you may need a day or two off so that you can just recuperate from all of the sleepless nights that you had. But we thank you, nevertheless, for putting in the work. So, as we end, Nelson Mandela once wrote in his book, Long Road to Freedom, I've taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come great responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my walk is not ended. With this event, we have taken a moment to pause, to reflect on our past achievements. We've taken account of what went right and what went wrong during the past year. But we can only do so for a moment, because we are entrusted with great responsibilities, with significant responsibilities, as DG Dan calls it. There is much to do as we rededicate ourselves to be a leading central bank committed to a prosperous Namibia. Thank you once again, dear invited guests, all of our viewers on our platforms, as well as on the national broadcaster, for taking a moment with us. We hope you continue to keep us accountable for how we discharge this great responsibility, now and in the future. Thank you so much.